There's a gold mine of a GTM opportunity that B2B founders have in front of them, but no one has noticed it yet. And what this opportunity means is that you're finally going to be able to rise above the sea of sameness and the noise that exists all over the marketplace, and allows you to connect with your customers and potential customers in a way that actually has them eager to have conversations with you. And here's the thing, most founders aren't even aware that this is available in front of them. You've heard me mention in a number of episodes about how the buyer landscape has changed and how buyer behavior has changed in terms of how they're going to market when they're actually looking for products and solutions. The TLDR of all of it is that they don't need you anymore. They no longer rely on sellers to have access to all of the information that they need to make a buying decision. They're largely getting that on their own. And I did a whole episode about how the Dentsu report mapped out how buyers are actually making their buying decisions. Now, what's interesting about that is that while buyers have completely changed how they're going to market and how they're making their decisions, sellers have largely maintained the same playbook that they've been using since the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Not much has changed. What has changed is that the broader marketplace, when you look at how sellers are behaving, it's all predicated on volume. There's an automation for this, there's AI for that, and what that means is that the inboxes and the DMs of everyone that you want to get in front of is just littered with messaging that sounds the same. If you've noticed this, make sure you drop me a comment. I'll be curious to see what you're seeing in terms of response rates and also interesting messages that you'll get. Drop those in the comments. For those of you where this is your first episode, hi, I'm Dr. Jim. I've spent the better part of the last 15 to 20 years in launching new products, launching new markets, and particularly working with founder-led B2B startup organizations and helping them go from 0 to 1 to growth to traction. And generally speaking, everything that I've done has been with organizations that are still trying to figure out product market fit. So they're building the airplane as they fly. So the reason why I mention all of that, in this conversation, we're going to talk about not only the opportunity that's being missed by a lot of early stage founders, but also what you can do that represents a slight shift in how you go outbound that's going to make a massive difference in the amount of conversations that you have. Now, I've talked about this before. Everyone that you run across is likely running the same outbound or very similar outbound playbooks that you see the large organizations run. And now, with AI taking a bigger and bigger role in how teams go outbound, you've probably heard over and over again that you got to get more messages out. It's just a numbers game, and that's going to lead to more opportunities for you. And typically what happens? That sort of advice completely ignores what the market is doing, and you end up burning through a lot of messages and domains, only to end up with maybe a couple more meetings and certainly a very low likelihood that you're going to get deals out of it. So if that sounds like the experience that you're having, what's the opportunity? What can you do differently that's going to lead to better results? There's 3 things that you need to do. One is a mindset shift. And that mindset shift is getting away from the idea that more is better. More is not better. Actually, better is better. And when you get out of that volume mindset, you have to approach the market differently. The goal for every founder is to build rapport, trust, and credibility with anybody in their marketplace that might be a potential buyer. And in order to do that, you have to get people to know, like, and trust you. This is not news for anybody. The problem is that when you're spamming your TAM, you burn both of those opportunities before you ever have a conversation. It's a reflection of who you are as a person. It's a reflection of who you are as a brand. So when you think about going outbound, you have to get out of that more is better mindset because it's costing you before you ever set foot in front of a customer. So now, once you accept that you have to do something differently and volume isn't the answer, what's the second thing that you should focus on? The second thing that you focus on is how you formulate your target list. So normally, we've been taught that you need to build a target list that is a carve out of your TAM. And when you think about your target list, that could be 500, 1,000, 5,000 potential companies. And generally, when you're building out your target list, what are you doing? You're typically going to go after big labels, big enterprise brands that everybody knows about, And what happens when you do that? Everybody else is going after those brands too. So you're just one tiny fish in an ocean of much bigger fish, much more well-known fish, and you're trying to capture the attention of all of these brands and companies that don't know who you are. And even if you were to land one, you're never really thinking about how's your delivery going to look like when you land a whale. So that's the hidden part of it. When we're thinking about how to do things differently, instead of building a massive list, build a small one. Build one that's 20 target companies, and 20 target companies in what you think might be in your niche that no one's heard of. And when you do that, you can hyper focus on those 20 companies and build a cohesive strategy that allows you to stand out from that sea of sameness. Because when you focus on a small number of companies, what this allows you to do is be hyper personalized and hyper relevant based on what's going on in their marketplace. And because you're building everything on the fly, you're indexing everything to try to stand above and beyond everybody else that's competing for that attention. But because you're going after companies that nobody's ever heard of, this gives you an edge because there's less competition in those spaces, and it allows you to be much more focused in how you want to approach those companies. So step one, get out of the more is better mindset. Step two is to build a tighter list and run micro experiments and be micro niche in terms of how you go to market. So that's all infrastructure. That's how you actually set the foundation up for success. But how do you get people to pay attention to you? And this is the opportunity that's sitting in plain sight that everybody is missing. While everybody is going to market with that spam your TAM approach, and everybody's going after the giant labels that everybody wants to get in front of, what should you be doing differently to stand out from them? Here's what you should be doing differently. Everybody's got access to automation and AI tools that can allow you to just crank volume up to 11. If you want to be hyper-focused, you can leverage AI to help you be more hyper-focused as well. But this isn't an AI solution that I'm going to talk about. The way you stand out from everybody else and the way you get people to actually want to have a conversation with you is to actually go with a different offer that you're going outbound with. At your stage of development, at the early stage of the founder journey, you're building everything on the fly. So other than revenue, the most valuable thing that you need is conversations and meaningful conversations about what's going on in the buyer's world. And when you look at the landscape of today, it's never been easier to put together a white paper. It's never been easier to put together a book. It's never been easier to put together a podcast. It's never been easier to launch a YouTube channel. Those are all avenues that you can use to have meaningful conversations with your customers and potential customers and really understand what's going on in their world, which will help you actually accelerate into growth and traction. Because rather than going out with a bunch of half-baked messages about what you think is the problem, you can have hours-long conversations with each buyer that you're engaging with and try to understand the problems that they see from their perspective and how that impacts them. That's the type of intel that you can't get by taking the transactional approach and trying to spam your TAM. And when you look at all the different ways that you can embed content into how you go outbound, it puts you in a position to talk to anybody that's in your niche, anybody that's in your TAM. So when you go hyper-focused and outbound with content and inviting those potential buyers into the ecosystem to share their expertise about the problems that they see and what an ideal solution would look like, you're changing the game in terms of how you can actually build a business. And far too many people are ignoring it. And it's good that they're ignoring it. You know why they're ignoring it? It's because that approach doesn't scale. So you're not at the stage where you should be thinking about scaling. You're at the stage where you just need growth. You need meaningful wins that helps you determine which niche are you going to dominate in and become expert in as you build towards a wider foundation for your business. So when you're looking at it from that perspective, going from 0 to 1, going from 1 to growth, this is the best play that you can embed into how you go outbound that allows you to have multiple long-running, meaningful conversations that lets you view the customer's world and helps you frame your messaging, your outbound, your strategy, your product. It informs all of it, and you're building a community of buyer advocates who are going to help shape the direction of your product and company. Hopefully this opens some eyes for you. If you like the conversation, drop me a message and let me know what stood out the most. I'd be curious to hear about some of the challenges that you're having from an outbound perspective, and even some ideas on how you can apply this embedded content idea into your outbound and what impact that's going to have in terms of the conversations that you have. So if you like this conversation, make sure you check out this episode and this playlist. And make sure you tune in next week where I'll have another episode for B2B founders who want to go from 0 to 1 to growth to traction.